Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing my mid-year favourites. Everything for the first half of 2022, what year was it? That's right, isn't it? That I have absolutely loved. I will say I'm picky with these kind of videos. I feel like mine is always like less. I feel like I include less products because I'm certainly not including everything that I have liked, everything that I've enjoyed, everything that has passed like the review. This is just the products that I have absolutely loved, that I'm still wearing, that are still in like circulation among my most used, most loved products. I have been picky, I've been fussy. I would say there's barely any more products in this video than there usually are in like my monthly favorites. This is the best of the best so far, halfway through the year of 2022. Without further ado, let's get started with you. So let's start off with the Complexione products. First up, an absolute banger of a primer. This is the Tom Ford Traceless Soft Matte Primer. This is probably, I'm still just going back and forth with the original Tatcha Silk Canvas. Since I picked that back up, I've kind of been using them back to back. But I think this is my favourite. I think this is my new favourite primer. It's just so smoothing. Smoother than a baby spot. It is delightful. I love the feeling of it on the skin. I love the pump. I love that you only need a tiny amount. I love how easily it absorbs into the skin. And most importantly, not one time in all of the months that I've had this and been using this like frequently, almost every day I do my makeup, it has never pilled, never not worked on top of a moisturiser or under a foundation. It works with everything, or everything that I have tried it with anyway, which is a lot. So yeah, number one, holy grail, very, very smoothing, very, very perfecting, very blurring, and definitely extends and just perfects how foundation looks and wears on top of it. So an absolute mega find this year. Worth every penny. For foundations, what do we have? I've got four foundations and one, let's talk about it, one other thing. And it's the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Face Tint. Can never remember the name of things. I love this. I spoke about this in my June favourites. I believe that is the month. And also used this in my 5-minute makeup routine. And that has become what I use this for. If I am like in a hurry, in a panic, just want to do something, have 2 moments, I will just put this on my skin, nothing else. Don't need to do brows, lashes, lips, nothing. I'll just add this to the skin for a bit of a glow, toning down redness, evening up my skin tone and matching up with my body. This is all I need. I don't feel the need to do anything else most of the time. I love it. I love the smell of it. I love how easily it works into the skin. And I don't really know. People have asked me how this wears and I don't really know because it's so minimal and sheer that it's hard to see. I certainly do not notice any fading. I certainly do not notice anything weird, like it doesn't cling, it doesn't start like going patchy or looking cakey at any point throughout the day. If it does fade, it's in such a subtle, natural way because it is sheerer that I certainly don't notice it, and I definitely don't notice it like transferring on everything that I pass either. An absolute wonder product for me. So 4 foundations that I have loved so far this year. I mean, that bodes well, doesn't it? If we get to 8 by the end of the year, what a year that will have been. First up, the foundation I'm wearing today. This is the Nars Light Reflecting foundation. It has become a go-to for me. Like any day when I just want something reliable, any weather, any occasion, any day, any time of day, for the evening, going out, for the daytime, running on the school run. I just feel like it's very, very versatile. It works for every occasion. Lovely luminosity without dewiness. Very, very beautiful, perfected, smoothing, skin-like. Everything that I like, medium coverage. It's just tick, tick, tick. I love that it doesn't have SPF in it, so I can wear this. This has become my like go-to for the evening, and it's just a beautiful foundation and has never let me down. Next, let's talk about another one that would kind of tick most of those boxes, and this is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Foundation. This is a lot more divisive. I feel like most people love the NARS foundation. Not everybody loves the Charlotte Tilbury. Not everybody gets on well with this. From what I hear, this isn't very dry skin friendly. That's what I've heard. But for me, this looks beautiful. I'd say it's glowier than the NARS. The finish is kind of more akin to the Tom Ford Shade Illuminate, a bit glowier, a bit dewier. I took this on my holiday with me, and it was just everything I want from like a holiday foundation. Again, love that this doesn't have SPF in it. Finally, foundations are coming out this year without a load of SPF in it for no reason nobody asked. This is very, very, on me, juicy, glowy skin, healthy, plump, luminous, full of life, vitality to the skin is what this gives me. I do understand for some people this basically sits on top of the skin, and I get that. When I first apply it, that happens, but then as I'm doing the rest of my makeup, it's like it suddenly just works, it like it soaks in and looks like perfection. Very, very beautiful, fresh, glowy, and again an evening friendly one because it doesn't have SPF, don't have to worry about bounce back. Beautiful everyday foundation. Another one that's slightly different was the number 1 from Chanel. Didn't really know what to expect from this. I'm not very experienced with Chanel foundations, and this one was beautiful. If you remember, I did like my trying new makeup, and I combined the Tom Ford primer with this, and it was my first time trying both of them, I think, and I was flabbergasted. My ghast was flabbered. The combination of these two, it was the smoothest my skin has ever looked. It's not glowy dewy, but it's definitely got some luminosity to it in a more natural way. It's very, very natural, very, very skin-like, very, very flattering on lines, and just a very easy wear for me. Shades are a bit tricky with Chanel foundations. This one doesn't wear as well as, like, say, the NARS for me, but if I don't need to worry about wear time, this is a beautiful foundation. Like, my skin just looks like an angel has blessed me. And I doubt that that is true, but who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it's just the foundation. Who could say? And lastly, let's talk about the Wayne Goss foundation. Again, a bit of a surprise hit for me because this is a balm foundation. Not typically my thing, but it's pleasantly surprised me. I found it very, very easy to work with. I found it applies nicely, best with probably a sponge because I think a brush just picks up too much. And the first time I used this, I used it with a brush and I was like horrified. It was a mess. It did not look good. And then I tried it with a sponge, and I got it. It was beautiful, a tiny amount, and it just perfects everything. If I want to do very, very no makeup, very, very natural, and just even everything out without it looking like I've got a speck of makeup on my face, this is going to do that for me. I haven't been using it a lot because the shade is like quickly became too light for me. Because there are only a few shades of this, and then I think the shades that are deeper than this one that would be like around my skin tone now, I have cool undertones, so that kind of put me off a little bit. I was a little bit nervous. I didn't really think that was going to be a shade that was going to work for me, so that's why I haven't really used it a lot. But I did really, really enjoy this when it matched me, and I think it's a beautiful foundation. And I really hope, like Wayne said, he's going to be bringing out more shades because it was a big hit for, I mean, like the first 5 shades are sold out, so it's definitely been a big hit. Definitely worth him getting some more shades in there because I think the more people can use this, the more popular it's going to become because it is gorgeous. Only one concealer so far. Let's hope the second half of this year is full to the brim, to bursting at the seams of concealer of dreams. I didn't even do that one on purpose. It's just a talent, you can't teach it. But the one that has snuck in here into the mid-year favourites, and I'm going to say it now, my prediction is it's going to be in the end of year favourites as well. It's the Huda Beauty Faux Filter. Do you notice how I have to, every single product I have to look at it because I can't remember a single name. I barely know my own name. That's what life has become now. But this is the Faux Filter Concealer. I have mine in the shade Cookie Dough. I am obsessed with this concealer. I am this close to telling you this is my new holy grail. It takes me a long time to commit to that. It takes me a long time going back and forth to commit to, especially something like the Pat McGrath concealer has been my holy grail for like, what, 3 years? I don't know how long, a long time. I've got 25, I've gone through 100 of them. That's how much I love that concealer. I think this one is going to knock it finally off top spot, but we're still exploring. This is the smoothest, I will say this is smoother than the Pat McGrath. This is the smoothest my under eye has ever looked, like since I was about 7, I would suggest. I don't really remember paying a lot of attention to my under eyes back then, but I certainly have never seen them look this good with concealer on. It covers everything I need it to, but in a very natural, light way. It feels very light. It's got a beautiful natural light to the finish. It's not matte, but it isn't that like glowy, illuminating, like light is just bouncing off your face randomly. It's a nice light luminosity. I love the finish. I love the texture. It's very creamy, but in a very thin and easy to blend way. It's very different to any texture I've tried before in a concealer. It covers everything I need it to while staying natural, while staying very smooth and not creasing. It's very, very flattering on me and my lines and texture. And I am getting you the one thing I said I didn't like about this in my previous review of this concealer is that the doe foot is quite fat. It's got a nice shape. It's very soft and gentle, but it's almost like a teardrop shape. And I struggle to like carve out my lift my eye area and use it down the bridge of my nose. But I've found now I've got a bit more used to that. I just kind of turn it on its edge and I almost use it the other side to do those areas, which I'm getting on fine with. But honestly, that is a tiny little thing compared to how great this concealer is. It's an absolute banger, a belter, a winner, chicken dinner. And I think that's all of the complexion products, you know, so far. Do you see how picky I am? Do you see how fussy? Let's talk briefly, a brief interlude from the makeups to talk about some brushes. This little set, this is the Hinoki set from Sonia G, and oh my goodness. My favourite bronzer brush, potentially. It really depends. If I want to have like a carved out bronzer, then I will go for the Nishi Pro. But when I want kind of an everyday diffused light bronzer, this larger brush in this set is it. It's just perfect. These handles are so beautiful, like I could lose my mind. And then this little bad boy, this is, I guess it's like a blush. I mean, all of these brushes from Sonia, they're always very versatile. This one, I love it for blush. I also use it for highlight, but I just love this fluffy, small brush for blush. That's a tongue twister, okay? Give me a break. I can definitely go heavy handed over the top of my blush. This size and shape and amount of bristles and the floof and the angle allows me to keep my blush high where I want it without going over the top. They're just a work of art, as always. Beautiful. And the other brushes I've loved this year, I spat, I'm so sorry. And the other brushes I've been mega impressed with so far this year are the Sydney Grace synthetic hair brushes. If you like synthetic hair brushes, I've said it every time I've talked about these brushes, these are the best I've ever tried. I absolutely love the foundation brush. I love all of the eyeshadow brushes. This is the like angled brush. I used it today. I don't know if this is allowed, but I used it today with a cream blush, just like dabbed it on the top, and it gave me the most natural, diffused, easy application with the cream that I've ever had. So that's another tip for these brushes. There's so many very, very clever shapes in there as well that I don't really have in my collection that have really helped me with things like my cat eyeliner and stuff like that. Very, very clever shapes, very, very soft, beautiful brushes. Absolute winner. So let's talk about eyeshadow palettes. Again, I've been very picky. I only have four, that's right. First up, let's talk about the 2 Bridgerton eyeshadow palettes. This is the one, the pink, the second adaptation, the second collaboration eyeshadow palette. This is the one I'm wearing today. This one gets less use than the other one. I think looking at this, like I said in my original review, I thought I was going to prefer this to the original one because just to look at it, it's a lot of pinks, and you know, I like these sort of rosy tones on the eye. I was very excited about this chartreuse shade and just also the pink packaging, to be honest, can't tell a lie. But, and as much as I do love it and it's beautiful, especially this shade here, which is just full of sparkle and has a lot of fallout, but I do not care because it's just so stunningly beautiful. But I actually prefer the original Bridgerton palette. It's just there's something about it. It's different, but it's, again, because it's got this sort of smoky, rosy mauve tones, as well as like the little pop of blue that I thought was so weird and random, and what's she doing in there? But it somehow works, and like this is the look that I did in my review of this is like one of my favorites ever because it's just so pretty and it's a bit different but still in my comfort zone, and it's a bit of color but in a wearable way for me where I feel like myself but in a slightly more adventurous way with my eyeshadow. And I actually really love the colors on here. I just think this is very Bridgerton. I love everything about it, and yeah, all the formulas in here as well. Doesn't have a shade in here with the massive fallout like the other one does. The blue is probably the shimmeriest shade, but it's smoother and it's not as sort of heavy on the glitter as the shade that is in the newer palette. But the tones just, you don't think they should work together, but they somehow do, and it's just gorgeous. Now, from those palettes that are very pretty colours and a bit more out of my comfort zone and a bit more sort of not my typical type on paper when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, to the definition of what I love in eyeshadow, and it was the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Dreams Quad. This, I know, I understand it. It's very, very boring if you're adventurous. But if you aren't, if you're like a makeup wuss, if you are a makeup basic person, this is literally the most basic eyeshadow palette there is, okay? It does one colour story and it is a very natural, very neutral, understated, pretty eyeshadow. But it's just, I can't lie to you, that's what I like and it's who I am, and I cannot live a lie. It's stunning. Every formula in there, the mattes I think are her best mattes ever. I would have loved this shade to be a bit lighter and a bit more of an impact as far as the shimmer, but there's no getting away from it. It is a stunning, pretty, beautiful, everyday palette, and it's very, for a quad, you know, you don't need anything else, you don't need to reach for anything, it does everything you need it to do. It's very like comprehensive for that specific look in a diddy little container, which is perfect. If you don't want to have a huge collection, if you're someone who only buys a few bits of makeup and you just like a natural, pretty, soft, neutral eyeshadow, like you could just have that and use it until it's all gone. I mean, does anyone ever do that anymore? Because I hope so, because that is like the perfect everyday work, office, 9 to 5, quick, easy, softer look. If that is your cup of tea, then you can't go wrong. And the fourth eyeshadow palette of 2022 so far that has really tickled my pickle is the new ABH Nouveau palette. I love everything about this. I love the packaging, the colour story. I really like this purple in here that lots of people are like, what is it doing in there? I live for it. I think it's gorgeous. In my recent video, what was it, my monthly favourites possibly? There was a video recently where I was wearing this wisteria shade. All I did was blend this all over my whole eye area and use a finger with wings on top. Perfection. A very pretty, colourful look, but very, very wearable and simple and easy, and I felt really beautiful with it. But there's a lot of different options in here for colours. If you're a bit less adventurous like me, you're going to have lots and lots of options, but you can also have a few little plays with some colour as well. I think it's beautiful, the best ABH palette there's been for many years. The formulas are fantastic, probably their best ever, and I'm really enjoying playing with it, and I'm very happy to see them back on top. So while we're on the topic of the eyes, let's talk about the one mascara that's made it in so far. Do you see how fussy I am about mascara? I have some high standards. If a mascara makes it into like my yearly favourites or my mid-yearly favourites, you know it's an absolute dream, a belter, absolute gem. The only one that has made it in so far in the first 6 months of the year is MAC Stack. Again, a bit of a comeback from the brand, I feel like. Not that MAC has like disappeared so much, but I definitely feel like it's not been kind of bringing out absolute bangers, selling out limited edition collections in the last few years. This is for me the most successful product that MAC has had for many years, and with good reason. I'm wearing this mascara today, and let me tell you, this is the same, so the MAC Stack and then the micro brush, which is the mini brush that I like to use on my bottom lashes. Both of these mascaras that I use today are the original mascaras that I wore, that I used in my review that was like over 4 months ago. 4 months ago, and they're still going strong. They haven't dried out, they haven't gone off, they haven't stopped performing, they haven't run out. In 4 months, and I use a lot of mascara, okay? They are amazing. It gives you lashes for days, lifted, separated, fanned out, mega volume lashes. It ticks every box I have as far as mascara. Definitely the best of the best so far that I've tried this year, and very close to being my holy grail. I still prefer the Charlotte Tilbury, that still pips it slightly, but I think this is kind of working its way into a close second place because it's still going months later, and that is amazing bang for your buck. A lot of mascaras, especially more expensive mascaras, you know, they're going to last you a month or two. They definitely, in my experience, last and stay good and don't dry out for longer than most drugstore mascaras that I've tried. But this is insane. Like, this is still going 4 months later. Get out of town. Okay, next up, because it doesn't really fit in any other category, but let's talk about these Charlotte Tilbury 5-minute kits. These are these little travel kits that come with a highlight stick, a lip and cheek stick, and an eyeshadow stick, but you can actually mix and match and swap them around, and now the individual products in here are available. I feel like I'm boring myself saying this every time. I wish Charlotte would come out with a bronzer stick that would also pop in here. But that aside, these are amazing for travel. I took this one and I kind of swapped things about to make it exactly right for me, and I took it on holiday and it just travels so nicely. The highlight in here is a beautiful stick highlight, one of my favourite stick type of highlight products that I've ever used, as well as the lip and cheek stick. I really like that, and I don't like sticks, and I usually don't like creams, and I also don't like these kind of 2-in-1 lip and cheek products typically. These are all really good, really nice formulas, and such a clever little idea. I feel like it could be even better if there were some more options for products that would fit in here, like lots of people said, a mini mascara or a stick concealer or a stick bronzer, so you can mix and match, and you can maybe take 2 of these and they would have everything that you would need for a full face. That would be phenomenal. But I do love the idea, and they do travel really nicely and very, very handy, and the products inside are definitely better than I expected. Next, potentially one of my favourite makeup products of all time, not just this year, but ever, and it's the McGrath Bridgerton Cheek palette. The 3 blushes and highlights. I mean, you know how I feel about the packaging. I hate it, but the products that are inside, they are worth it for me. The highlight was a surprise. Like, I didn't really care. I literally bought this, 1 for review purposes, 2 for this blush. It's just perfect. And the highlight really surprised me, as did the pink blush that I just was like, me, pink blush? No, thank you. But it's absolutely stunning, and the formula of the blushes has become like my all-time favourite blush formula. They're just all stunning, very, very pretty. The whole overall effect, like with using the highlight and either of these 2 blushes, is like my absolute favourite thing to do, my favourite to cheek. Yes, I hate the packaging, I know, but the product inside, oh, divine, glorious. Another blush that came into my life this year, very, very recently in fact, and knocked my socks clean off, flying out the window, and it's these RMS blushes. Every time I open them, they give me joy. Just to look at them, I just feel full of joy, and I just want to immediately start whacking them on my face. This shade Mai Tai, It's the perfect spring, summer, peachy with like gold reflect blush. These are so glowy and beautiful that you don't need a highlight with them. They are absolutely stunning. I've picked up how many? 2 more, and I want another, a third one. A third one I want to add. I think I have Sangria Maiden's Blush. Maiden's Blush is the absolute perfect everyday neutral, goes with everything blush. Sangria is like Mai Tai, but it's like a bit more of a pop. It's a bit redder. The other one I want is something else. Passion fruit, something to do with passion fruits possibly, but oh, pick a shade, any shade, whatever one you're drawn to. It's if you like a glowy blush, what are you even still doing here, is what I'm saying. They are stunning. Next, let's talk about a cream product that came into my life and changed the game. Okay, this year I made a resolution. One of my makeup resolutions was to try more cream products. And so far, there are very few that I have tried that have made it into like full regular use, long-term, top drawer, reaching for it over powders. This one is one of them, and it's the Charlotte Tilbury Cream Bronzers. I love this bronzer, and I have never loved a cream bronzer. In fact, like a cream product like it. It's just, this is the medium shade. I have medium and tan. This is my preferred shade. Most of the time, tan is just a little too deep, goes with my skin tone just that little bit better, but I can use either. The formula, I love how it's not sticky. I love how it's got some luminosity to it. A lot of these cream products dry down matte and heavy. This one melts into the skin. It's so natural. I love the packaging. I love the large mirror. I love how travel friendly it is because it's quite thin and compact, and you know it's not going to smash to smithereens. It was just a revolution for me because I really didn't expect to, one, be able to apply this and be happy with how it looked and it not lift up foundation and it go nicely on top of powders and have powders go on top of it as well. And also for it to wear well, because that's usually like the thing that kind of topples cream products is the wear time. They just don't wear as well as powders. This one wears as well as any powder bronzer I've ever used. It's a absolute treat. It may even become, with time, my favourite bronzer ever. At the moment, I'm still preferring the Victoria Beckham. I'm still not quite as confident and happy-go-lucky applying creams as I am powders, but it could certainly, by the end of the year, this could become my like go-to bronzer. And also, I'm excited to see how long it takes me to hit pan, because creams are easier to hit pan on than powders. So I'm excited for that I may actually use something up. Or at least hit pan, let's not get carried away. A couple of Chanel cheek products that I really fell in love with this year. One is this Pesh Rosee blush. I wish either I was a bit fairer or this was just a bit deeper, because I can't use this at the moment, it just doesn't show up on me. In the winter, this was just the perfect, super subtle, everyday, goes with everything, peachy neutral blush with a lovely bit of natural luminosity. It's not shimmery like the RMS. Let me show you the comparison. So this is the Chanel Peche Rosé and this is the RMS. Obviously you can see the RMS definitely has a bit more colour to it, but it also has a lot more shine and glow, whereas the Chanel is a sort of natural luminosity, I would say. But for fair skin, for blush foes, for people who are nervous of applying too much blush, just want something super natural and that's not intimidating or like scary to use, it's just perfect. But yeah, it is too light for me now, which is very sad. The highlight that I'm wearing today, this is this absolutely stunning, although the flower has definitely slightly disintegrated, but this is the Reve De Camelia highlight from Chanel. It feels so soft just to swatch it. It's so cream-like, it's so natural, and it's so colourless. This is the joy of this highlight, that I can wear this in winter, I can wear it in summer, and it's still just, it doesn't leave a cast because it's almost like got no base. It's almost colourless, but it's very, very smooth and flattering on the skin. It's got that glow and the luminosity that I like without being like metallic highlight. It's just the smoothest, prettiest, not necessarily natural, but on the natural end of things. Like if this is natural and this is like the Hourglass highlighting palette, then I'd say this one is like here. It's definitely more natural than it is beaming, but it's just that also that clear, the sort of sheer colour to it gives it a much more natural effect on the skin because you're not seeing any colour, you're just seeing some glow. It's beautiful. Another highlight that I have loved this year, the only other highlight, single highlight I think, that we have here, and this is Venus Nectar from Pat McGrath's recent collection with her blush duos. This also came out with one of the highlighters, and I talked about this in my monthly favourites. This is just, I mean, you can see there much more colour and it's deeper than the Chanel, but it is just the perfect shade and intensity for my preferences for my skin tone. It almost is invisible as far as the colour. It's just perfect for my skin tone and I absolutely love it. It's the perfect amount of luminosity but glow. It melts into my skin, and although it's not colourless, like if you were fair, this would definitely show it was almost like a blush on you, but on me it just melts into the skin and it matches me so beautifully. That was a real surprise of that collection. You'll notice the blush duos aren't in this video just because they were alike and not an obsessed love, but that highlighter is a love. And another blush and a new brand for me this year was Suqqu, and this is the first blush I ever tried from them, and what a first try. I love these orange, again, very, very luminous. This reminds me of some of my favourite all-time blushes like Nars Taj Mahal and Becca Tiger Lily. It's got that bronzy orange glow that I love in summer, and it's one of the first blushes from the brand that I thought would actually work on my skin tone. Suqqu, traditionally, almost all of their blushes are very light, very fair, and a lot of them wouldn't work on my skin tone or show or give me the amount of colour that I like. This was one of the first ones that really grabbed me, and it is gorgeous. Such a beautiful formula and a lovely, like, it wasn't my first product with Suqqu, so it wasn't really my introduction to the brand, but it was definitely my first like big major hit. And next we have the NARS Afterglow blush palette. I live for these palettes. They're so pretty. This one is potentially my favorite yet. I think the highlight in here, they're always so underrated. This is such a pretty highlight, and I feel like you see these palettes and you just think and you just talk about them being blush palettes, but actually the highlights are not to be underrated because it's actually a beautiful one. But these two blushes down here, they are just absolutely stunning. Don't be afraid of this one. It can be very, very impactful and very, very bright, but it blends so nicely, and actually on the skin, it's really not as intimidating as you might expect. It's beautiful. I love combining these two, and just a very pretty peachy, glowy cheek. One of my favorite looks again that I've done this year, where I just used this highlight and blended these two together, and I just loved the overall combination. Perfect summer palette. And now the last cheek product I have is the one that I'm wearing today on the cheeks, and it is going to be a surprise for you guys because this is the first time I've used this, but I wanted to include it here because I've just loved it so much today when I was applying it. This is the Victoria Beckham Fever Cheeky Posh Cheek Stick. So apparently you can use this on the lips, which I haven't done yet. As soon as I saw this, you know, as I said, my resolution, trying more cheek products, I wanted to do that. I saw this shade released and thought, that's my shade. That's a shade that I need to try. I used it today, as I said earlier, with my Sydney Grace cheek brush. All I did was get this and run it over the top of the blush, and it just gave me this softest pretty, I mean that looks really intimidating and bright, but using it with this brush very lightly, it gave me a lovely peachy cheek that was very easy to apply, didn't disturb anything underneath, and I was really, really impressed. So yeah, early days with this, but I wanted to include it here because it knocked my socks off this morning, and it was a big surprise hit because I thought, oh, it's going to be too much, too bright, too scary, but actually used, you know, sheerly, and I guess as well, if you use this with a sponge, it's going to give you a beautiful, like that sunburnt cheek, but that's also going to work on lots of skin tones because of the versatility. You can either use it how I did, or you can build it up, and it's going to work for lots of different people. So all we have left now are the Lippies. Now let's get the most obvious one out the way. What I'm wearing on my lips right now, you guys know I've been having a long-term love affair with the Dior Addict Shine lipsticks. These are just chef's kiss. They became my absolute favorite formula. The gloss, the shine, the hydration, the range of colors. I have like 20 of these now, can't stop buying them. This is one of my favorite shades. This is Rose Bobby. They aren't long wearing, like I've literally, all I've done is make this video, and you can see it is already for sure worn off a little. So that is like the one drawback from them, that they aren't long wearing. But I don't really, I mean, one, I don't really expect this formula, this sort of balmy, shiny lips to be long wearing. Like typically they just aren't anyway. And I don't really care, honestly, that I just love the finish and the feel, and the range of colors is like unmatched. There's a color for everybody here, every skin tone, every preference, every undertone. You'll find a shade, because there's just such a huge variety of shades, and I absolutely love them. Can't stop buying them. Like I said, I have them coming out my ears, and they're just my favorite formula. Very, very comfortable, very, very forgiving on lines and lip texture. I feel like even if you have, you know, the smallest, thinnest lips, more mature lips, they're going to give you juicy, plump, full, smooth lips, and it's just a delight. Another formula this is the wrong one. Another formula I absolutely fell in love with this year, and this was the Hourglass Phantom Gloss. So this is like one of those click up, can't click back down melting formulas. It just is so shiny, and it has the perfect amount of color. You don't need to wear lipstick underneath. There are some really lovely colors of this available. It does have that like tingly, cold kind of plumping sensation, but it's not extreme, and it's not the burning that I don't like. It's that sort of cooling menthol feeling, and I just feel like they just give you the plumpest, shiniest lips. Shinier because they are more of a gloss than lipstick than the Dior Addicts, and they do have that plumping sensation. Definitely haven't got the same color range, but a really nice product, especially for summer, because it gives you that juicy, healthy, glossy, shiny lip that I really like in the summer, and it's got a lovely amount of pigment. This is the shade Lucid, and this one is a little bit light for me, but the Trace shade, which I think is the nude, that one is stunning, and the brights as well, really, really pretty. But those are just like it for summer for me, those glossy, shiny, healthy, plump lips. Tell me about it. And then the last two products on my table are both Lippies from Suqqu. These again from the same collection as the blush I spoke about earlier. These are the Moisture Rich lipsticks. I have 122 and 123. Both are stunning. These are the only two lipsticks I wore on my holiday, and I just didn't feel like I needed anything else. They're very hydrating, balmy, but with a punch, but with a lovely kick of colour, much more sheer, much more of a balm formula. That was 123. My favourite is 122 because it has all this glitter that just gives it this insane shine, and it is really like orange as well, which I just find it gives you that bronzed goddess look in a very easy way. And although it has like glitter, when you look at it you think, oh, this is not going to feel horrible on my lips. It doesn't. When you apply it you can kind of feel the grit, but you don't feel it on the lips. You rub your lips together when you're wearing it, you can't really feel it, but it is absolutely gorgeous. Whenever I wear this, people want to know what it is, because it's just a bit of a unique bronzy orange color, but so comfortable, so hydrating, and just really lovely for like basically a tinted lip balm, but with more color and shinier. They are absolutely beautiful. But I will say hard to get now. I'll try, and if I can find them, I will link them down below, but they were limited edition, which was a lesson for me that if you want to get Suqqu products, you have to be fast, because limited edition with that brand really they mean it. Like, they're not like a Natasha Denona limited edition. It's still there 3 years later. Their limited edition gone in like a few weeks and gone forever. Okay, so there you have it. Those are all of my picks, my absolute creme de la creme favorite products, all loves of the year so far in 2022. What has been your #1 product so far that you found this year? I cannot wait to see what the second half of 2022 holds for us, and also how many of these products will be in my end of year 2022 favourites. How many of them will make it all the way through? I can't wait to find out. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye.